Hi, this is Ryan, and I'm actually staring at a pile of about $400 worth of useless plastic right now. Over the last 2 years, I bought three different dash cams. Each one had a big, shiny 4K Ultra HD sticker on the box. Two of them literally deformed in my car's windshield this past summer. The plastic casing on this off-brand one is actually bowed out in the center because the internal lithium battery swelled up like a cheap balloon. The third one, it survived the heat. But when a truck clipped my mirror last month and I went to pull the footage, nothing. Just an endless list of 0-byte corrupted files. 6 months of driving, zero usable video. I was beyond irritated. I thought I just had terrible luck. But when I finally stopped trusting the Amazon listings and started digging into the actual engineering, I realized I'd fallen for the exact same trap millions of drivers fall for every day. Almost every spec they train you to care about is mathematically irrelevant in a moving vehicle. There is exactly one hardware component that dictates whether you'll actually be able to read a hit-and-run driver's license plate under glaring headlights at midnight. What is it, and why do manufacturers bury it so deep in the fine print? If you stick around, and maybe hit subscribe if this ends up saving you a headache, I'll show you exactly what I found. And I'll show you the one camera I'm kicking myself for not buying 2 years ago. So you buy a dash cam. You get the box with the glossy, slightly too thin cardboard, you peel off the plastic film from the lens, and you spend 45 minutes doing that incredibly awkward dance where you're shoving a black cable into the edge of your car's headliner with your thumbs. Your fingers get covered in that weird gray dust from the weather stripping. You plug it into the 12-volt socket, the screen lights up, and a little red light starts blinking. It feels great. You feel responsible. Every time you start the car, you hear that little startup chime and you think, okay, I'm protected. You forget it exists, which is exactly what these companies are banking on.
That was me for 2 years, up until the moment that delivery truck merged into my lane without looking, took off my side mirror, and kept driving. When I got home, my hands were still shaking a little bit. I reached up behind the rearview mirror and popped out the microSD card. It's the size of a fingernail, and when I pinched it to pull it out, the plastic was actually hot to the touch. Not warm, hot. I slid it into the adapter, plugged it into my MacBook, and opened the folder. There were hundreds of files, but the file sizes were weird. 0 kilobytes, 0 kilobytes, 12 megabytes, then cut off. I clicked on the file timestamped for the exact minute of the accident. QuickTime threw an unrecognized format error. I tried VLC, nothing. The camera had been chiming every single day. The little red light had been blinking, but it hadn't successfully written a complete video file since early March. Okay, let me back up for a second, because I originally thought this was just a defective unit. So I went out and bought a different brand, a highly rated one, over 8,000 reviews, 4K resolution, night vision, the whole 9 yards. I figured if I'm going to do this, I need the highest resolution possible so I can punch in on a license plate. I tested it for a week. I pulled the footage to see what my money bought me. I opened a clip on my 27-inch monitor. I'm going 45 miles an hour down a suburban road at night. An SUV passes me in the opposite lane. I hit the spacebar to pause. The license plate isn't letters and numbers. It is just a glowing white rectangle. Actually, wait, that's not even the right way to put it. It didn't look like a white rectangle. It looked like someone had smeared Vaseline over a flashlight. I was sure that higher resolution meant more clear pauses. More pixels equals more detail, right? And I was half wrong. I was wrong about how cameras process light.
It's a brutal numbers game. These budget cameras are using image sensors the size of a Tic Tac. When you try to cram 8 million pixels onto a surface that small to claim 4K on the box, each individual pixel becomes microscopic. And microscopic pixels are terrible at gathering light. So, when the camera gets hit by the blinding LED headlights of an oncoming car in the dark, the tiny sensor panics. It blows out the entire image. That 4K file is massive. It eats up your storage, it forces the camera's processor to work overtime, and it gives you absolutely useless footage when it actually matters. And that processor working overtime? That brings us to the heat problem.
Dash cams sit inches away from windshield glass. In the summer, the ambient temperature on a dashboard can hit 160 degrees Fahrenheit. The cheap off-brand camera I mentioned earlier, the casing has a physical bulge right near the mount. I had to pry it open with a flathead screwdriver to see what happened. The cheap lithium-ion battery inside had swilled up so badly it cracked the internal plastic bracket. Lithium batteries and enclosed glass boxes baking in the sun do not mix. It is a literal fire hazard sitting above your steering wheel. You're trusting your insurance premium and potentially your legal liability in a crash to a piece of tech that was engineered to survive the Amazon return window and not a second longer. They lure you in with meaningless resolution numbers, they put dangerous batteries inside to save $3 on manufacturing, and they let the camera silently fail while pretending to record. I realized I couldn't just buy whatever was on the first page of search results anymore. I had to ignore the marketing completely. I needed to know what was actually inside the plastic shell. And when I started cross-referencing teardowns and sensor spec sheets, I realized there is exactly one hardware combination that actually does the job. And the dashcam I should have bought 2 years ago looks absolutely nothing like the one sitting broken on my desk. So I'm sitting at my desk with a mini screwdriver, a cracked plastic housing, and a corrupted SD card trying to figure out what actually killed my footage. And the answer made me feel incredibly stupid.
Because it wasn't the camera's processor that failed to save the video, it was the card itself. I had taken a standard, cheap 64GB micro SD, the kind with the generic red and gray label you buy at the drugstore for $12, and stuck it into a device that overwrites its own memory every 3 hours. Endlessly. Flash memory has a physical limit. Standard cards use TLC memory, which basically means they die after a few hundred write cycles. I essentially ran an ultra marathon on a pair of dollar store flip-flops and got mad when they disintegrated into dust. What I should have bought, well, actually, what the dashcam manufacturer should be putting in the box is a high-endurance card. They literally feel a tiny bit thicker, and they use a completely different flash architecture designed strictly for continuous surveillance. But they cost 2 or 3 times as much, so the brands bundle the cheap ones, let them burn out in silence after 6 months, and blame you when your crash footage isn't there. That was revelation number 1. Revelation number 2 was the mounting hardware. I used to think those giant suction cup mounts were a feature. You push it against the glass, pull the little plastic lever down, and you're done. Except when the windshield glass heats up to 130 degrees, the rubber softens. I can't tell you how many times I've walked out to my car after work, opened the door, and found my dash cam dangling by its USB cable, just swinging and knocking against the dashboard plastic. The cameras that actually work don't use suction cups. They use flat strips of 3M VHB tape, and they don't look like little digital cameras. They're shaped like wedges. They tape completely flat against the glass, hiding perfectly out of sight behind the rearview mirror. But hiding the camera introduced another problem. If it's pressed right up against the glass, absorbing all that solar radiation, how does it survive the heat? Once I realized the lithium-ion battery in my second camera had swollen so much that it was physically pushing the LCD screen out of the bezel, I started digging into power supplies. Turns out, the standard for actual dash cams isn't a battery at all. It's a supercapacitor. I ordered a supercapacitor model to test. When you unplug it from the car's 12-volt socket, it doesn't stay on for 20 minutes like a GoPro. It shuts down in about 3 seconds. Click, black screen. At first, I hated it. I thought, what good is a security camera if it dies instantly? But that 3-second window is exactly enough reserve power to finalize and save the very last video file of your crash before the car's battery gets disconnected by the impact. And more importantly, a supercapacitor doesn't care if it's baking in a desert parking lot. It won't expand, it won't burst. It just sits there, completely inert, doing its job. But the biggest shock, the thing that really made me realize how badly we're all getting played by the 4K label, was the image sensor. I finally found the single spec that matters. It's not the pixel count, it's the physical sensor hardware. Specifically, a new architecture called Sony STARVIS 2.
I bought a wedge-shaped supercapacitor camera with this exact sensor. I hardwired it into my fuse box and took it out on the exact same suburban road at midnight. Same harsh LED headlights coming at me, same speed. When I pulled that footage, loaded it onto my monitor, and hit the spacebar, I just sat back in my chair. I could read the state on the plate. I could read the numbers. I could actually see the little colored registration sticker in the top corner and the gritty layer of winter road salt crusted over the bumper. The STARVIS 2 sensor uses multi-exposure HDR. It physically captures multiple frames at different light levels and stacks them instantly. So instead of a blinding white smear of glare, it punches right through the headlight beam. This is where it gets genuinely infuriating. You can go on Amazon right now and find 50 cheap dash cams with Night Vision Ultra plastered across the thumbnail. They use generic ancient CMOS sensors that cost maybe $2 to manufacture. To compensate for the dark, they just crank up the digital brightness. It turns the night sky into a snowy, grainy mess and blows out headlights so badly, the footage is legally useless.
And they are outselling the legitimate functional hardware, 10 to 1. People are driving around with glowing little boxes on their windshield, totally confident they're protected, completely unaware that their camera is a blind, overheating, ticking clock. So, what do you actually do? Which one of these things is actually worth drilling into your car's trim for? So, what is the actual answer? After burning through hundreds of dollars on plastic junk, I finally found the setup that does exactly what it's supposed to do. It's sitting right in front of me. This is the Viofo A229 Pro. My very first impression when I pulled it out of the box was just how dense it feels. There's no shiny chrome trim, there's no fake leather texture. It is just a heavy matte black wedge. If you press hard against the edges of the casing, there is zero flex or creak. It feels like an industrial tool, not a consumer electronic. You're probably thinking, what about Garmin? The Garmin Dashcam Mini 2 is wildly popular, and I actually bought one to test alongside this. It's the size of a key fob, it has no screen, and it totally vanishes behind your mirror. I genuinely loved the minimalist design, but there is a physical cost to being that small. The Garmin gets alarmingly hot to the touch because it just doesn't have the surface area to dissipate heat. More importantly, it only shoots 1080p on an older sensor. Actually, let me clarify that. The Garmin is a perfectly fine camera if you just need to prove who ran a red light in broad daylight. But if a dark gray sedan sideswipes you at 11 p.m. in the rain and takes off, the Garmin is going to give you a blurry white rectangle where the license plate should be. The Viofo has that Sony STARVI2 sensor we talked about. It gets you the plate. If it were my $330 right now, I wouldn't even look at another brand. I'd buy the A229 Pro dual-channel kit, a hardwire cable, and a 256GB SanDisk high-endurance micro SD card. Period.
That doesn't mean it's flawless. I haven't tested their new radar parking module through a full winter yet, so grain of salt on the extreme cold weather battery draw. And I will say the voice prompts are, well, they're incredibly annoying. The first time I started my car, a loud robotic voice yelled, "Recording commenced," at maximum volume. I ended up digging through the menus in the driveway just to mute it because it was driving me crazy. I expected the Wi-Fi transfer to be terrible, but dashcam apps are notoriously awful. But the Viofo surprised me. It uses a 5 GHz band, and I actually downloaded a 300 megabyte 4K clip straight to my iPhone in about 45 seconds while sitting in a Wendy's parking lot. The app itself isn't a beautiful Apple-level experience. It looks a little bit like a spreadsheet, but it didn't crash once, which is a miracle in this space. There is one last secret to making this work, and it's something almost no one talks about. Buy the corporal filter. It's a tiny polarized glass lens that snaps over the camera. When I first mounted the Viofo, the bottom third of my footage was completely ruined by the reflection of my dashboard's defrost vents shining off the inside of the windshield. I snapped the corporal filter on, and the reflection literally vanished. It's a $20 piece of glass that improves the video clarity by 20% instantly. That's the mindset shift you have to make here. A dashcam is not a fun gadget. It is an insurance appliance. You don't want it to have fun features or a sleek touchscreen. You want it to sit in absolute silence behind your mirror, endure 140-degree heat, write data relentlessly to a heavy-duty SD card, and capture high dynamic range video when disaster strikes. That is its only job. Stop buying the cheap lithium-ion fire hazards because they claim 4K Ultra HD on the box. Check the sensor, check the power supply, buy the right memory card. If this deep dive saved you from wiring a ticking clock into your car's headliner, consider hitting subscribe. It helps me buy this team with my own money so we can figure out what actually works. I'll leave links in the description to the exact Viofa model, the corporal filter, and the high-endurance SD card I'm running in my own car right now. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.